Hello, I think we're live. My stage princess told me that we are officially live. So, hello, I'm Reskel. I am running quite a long panel today, so I hope you have some drinks and snacks and are fairly chill and relaxed. So, my panel is all about what the furry fandom is and how it relates to My Little Pony as both a show and as a community, I guess. A little bit of background about me. I've been in the furry fandom since 2009. I have been in the My Little Pony fandom since about 2011-ish. So I've been in both for quite a while, but I started out being a furry. I became a furry when I was a kid, and I have 8 fursuits. They're behind this very lovely starry backdrop that I have. And be sure to leave me Q&A questions on the Discord. The Q&A questions are open for the entirety of this stream. So if you see a panel and you have like a burning question, you can just go and ask it straight away and I will answer all of them at the end. Yeah, I think maybe we're ready to start-ish. So I put up my furry character, who is called Reskel, just like me, and my Little Pony character as well, who is called Penna, just to sort of, you know, illustrate, I guess, what we're going to go for. But I think we're ready to go. All right, sweet. So I like to start these panels by actually explaining what a furry is for you, because I'm aware, obviously, UK PonyCon is a My Little Pony convention, so there may be some furries watching, or there might be some My Little Pony fans who know what a furry is, but there might genuinely be some people who have no idea what they're talking about. So I'm going to try and break it down, kind of. Obviously, this isn't that in-depth because I can't speak for an entire group of people, but I'm going to do my best. So, what even is a furry, anyway? The answer is complex. A furry is completely different for everyone. Furries are a subculture based around the concept of anthropomorphism. Big word, don't worry about it. It basically just means applying human characteristics to non-humans. It's also a term in English language, but that usually applies to inanimate objects, if that makes sense. So like describing a chair like a bird, it's a bit weird, but for furries, it definitely just means humans and animals. This can be real animals, fantasy animals, doesn't matter. Furry does not automatically mean fluffy. We have avians, so bird furries, and scalies, so dragons and lizards. In our community, it doesn't just mean fluffy critters. Furries are a diverse global community. We've been organising meetups and conventions since the 1980s. I actually think it's earlier than that. I think it's the 70s. I might have to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure it's the 80s, or at least properly. The furry fandom kind of started in like sci-fi conventions or anime conventions, and people would organize furry panels or furry parties, and then it kind of just sort of morphed into its own thing. So where the fandom starts is a little bit difficult to say, so let's just say 80s. Furry is both a name for the fandom as well as an individual term. So for example, I, Reskel, here and now, I'm a furry, but I'm also in the furry fandom. So I hope that makes sense. It's a self-assigned term. Nobody can make or tell you that you're a furry. It is something you choose to engage with. You can like anthropomorphic animals and not be a furry if you choose not to be. And that is something I really want to stress in this panel, is I have chosen to call myself a furry because I interact with the community. I love the community. I go to furry events, you know, like I am a furry, but I've chosen to call myself that. So yeah. Okay, but really, what is a furry? Because might not be making sense to people yet. So I'm going to take Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps from Zootopia. It's called Zootropolis in Europe. So just in case if you were confused, to explain the concept of anthropomorphism. So both characters here are animals, as you can tell. They exhibit human-like traits. So as you can see, they're both walking on two legs. They are wearing clothes, they have jobs, they take transportation, they have like cell phones, you know, like very much like living in their own little world that's very much like ours rather than like a rabbit warren or a fox den, you know? So consider furry characters perhaps to be kind of like a fusion between a human and an animal. Kind of like, you know, how a centaur is a human and a horse fused. Furries are just kind of a different version of that, I guess. They also display characteristics of their species. So Nick Wilde is sly, like a fox is sly. He is cunning and sneaky, but if you took a sloth character, they would be quite slow and sleepy, which was me this morning. I don't know about any of you. You take the mannerisms of that animal species that you have picked, and then you just apply them. While many people enjoyed this Disney film, anyone who saw it and enjoyed it is not automatically a furry. Like, just because you've watched Disney doesn't mean you're a furry. Just means you've liked something with anthropomorphic animals in, and that's honestly most people. Most of us grew up with Disney, so we're all kind of normalized to it at this point. All right, what you're really here for? Let's talk about My Little Pony. My Little Pony is a franchise introduced in the 1980s. My Little Ponies were horse toys in a whole rainbow of colors. The original television series featured dragons, stonebacks, bush woolies, and all manner of creatures. I looked up the wiki to see how many, and I was like, I'm going to stick to 3. There was a surprising amount, you know? The My Little Pony main cast are anthropomorphic, even though they do not stand on 2 legs. I will go more into the difference between feral and anthro later on, but these characters are still anthropomorphic. So it's the same as the Lion King, for example. They walk on all 4s, but they are still anthropomorphic characters, you know? They all talk, they all have very distinct personalities. They are, for all intents and purposes, people, but in the body of an animal. They also have the attributes of that animal. There's a really good documentary on Netflix, The Toys That Made Us, talking about like how My Little Pony and other things like Barbie and Transformers came to be. And one of the most interesting things I took from that documentary actually was that like the ponies are their own characters, like they are the characters. They're not horses, if that makes sense. They're just people that look like horses. And I actually thought that was quite interesting. So there you go. A suggestion to watch after PonyCon. Yeah, so they interact with the world with their hooves very differently to how we would with our hands. You can enjoy media with anthropomorphic animals and not be a furry. However, you can just as easily want to become a furry because of seeing anthropomorphic animals in media. So many furries I know are furries now because of the things that they grew up with that had anthropomorphic animals. When I was very small, it was much less My Little Pony for me and very much Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. That's where my horse phase came from. I'm not sure if anyone else can relate to that. But yeah, if you are lost, don't worry. Hopefully everything will make sense by the end of this. And if you have questions, ask them. I will get to them. Okay. Let's pause. What makes a furry? Most important to furries is the creation of their own furry character, which is a persona or an avatar to represent themselves. They are called personas. A furry persona. We like a lot of wordplay. I apologize in advance. There are so many like weird words and phrases like that. I actually have a badge here of my persona and my pony character together that I made just before PonyCon. So that was nice. This idea may be familiar to those in pony communities, as often people have pony personas or OCs, so like original characters. It is one of the many ways in which our communities share quite a big similarity. What matters for all of us is having a connection with that design, right? So furries more often than not will pick their favorite animal and a color scheme that they like, sometimes one that works aesthetically, but usually just a color scheme that we like. I'm very guilty of this. Then you just get creating something that feels like you know? So this is my persona, Rescal, like me. They are an alien wolf dog. And many people will pick an animal that has traits that they see in themselves. So it's much more personality based than it is, this is how I look, you know? For example, someone who is shy may lean more towards like a prey type of animal, such as like rabbits or deer. They're both very popular. They can relate to the animal's nature. So I picked a canine because they're quite friendly and affectionate, and that's the sort of person I am. But you know, other people will pick different animals for different reasons. Furries tend to draw their persona in the clothes that they would wear, or perhaps with the tattoos or piercings or body mods that they would have, so it like feels like they have just been transported into a furry world. This, however, is not always the case. As I said, it's much less based on one's image, more based on one's personality. Personas are deeply personal. No two are alike, and no two are created in the same way or for the same reason. You know, especially with people who might come into this community who are struggling with gender identity, having a persona that more accurately fits how you feel rather than how you look is very, very empowering for people. You know, or for loads of reasons. I think it's wonderful when people's persona feels like them and is a way to feel more comfortable with themselves. Is pretty neat. It's pretty deep though. All right, who are furries? Who are we? Apart from this person in this tiny box in the corner of your screen. Okay, so there's an organization called Fursuiting. They are a group of scientists. They are like funded by universities and things. And what they do is research and data collection on the fandom, which is pretty neat and really helpful when you're doing a panel all about furries. So I've taken all this data from them, but you can go and read more about it if you like. It's quite interesting. Close to about 19% of furries in their most recent findings, which were Anthropomorphism 2019. I didn't include that part, but I do remember that part. Are 18. And 75% were under 25. So a vast majority of us are young adults. Around 60% more identified as male. This might be something rather familiar to those who've been in brony circles as well. It's quite male dominated, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people of other gender identities here. Around 12.2% of furries identified as transgender in some way. That is actually 20 times higher than the general population, which I didn't realize. I was quite shocked by that number. I was like, wow, okay. Because 12.2 doesn't sound that high, but yeah, kind of is. So that's kind of neat. Around 70% of furries documented for these questionnaires that were done at Anthrocon, which is the second largest furry convention in the world, for those who might not be aware, say that they play video games once a day. I wonder how many of us have played video games today. The data so far that we've gone through could really apply to either of us, or honestly, it could apply to most sort of nerd communities. In fact, a study focused on furry fandom's related interests, so interests that were like not furry but people shared. My Little Pony was actually the number one. The second was Doctor Who, which is fine by me because I adore Doctor Who, but I was very shocked by that. So interesting fun facts, I guess. Okay, let's just get to the fursuits, because I'm sure people have a lot of questions about those, because they are very much what people see when they see furries. Furries are just those costumes though, right? Yes, and also no. Furries are people. So me here right now, I'm a furry. Hello. You do not need anything to be in the furry community, in the same way you don't need anything to be a My Little Pony fan. You just need to like My Little Pony. Job done. Some perhaps have artwork. Some have like little ears and tails. Some have nothing. It's all totally cool. Some people don't for financial reasons. Some just are not interested. Whatever. But some furries do own fursuits. As I said earlier, myself, I own 8. On the screen now is 2 of mine. I have worn both of these to the in-person event as well. So if you recognize me, say hi. According to Fur Science data, around 10% own full suits and close to 20% own partials. I will explain what those are momentarily. Fursuits are costumes based around personas. They allow furries to bring their characters to life through performance art. Usually fancy charades is the easiest way I can honestly explain what fursuit performance is to someone. There are also pony suits, which are constructed very similarly, but are usually for cosplay of existing characters rather than original characters, but that can be the case. It can go either way. I'm just going to do a quick time check. All right, we're 1/4 of an hour in. We're doing great. Awesome. So, fursuits. Furry suits, if you haven't already guessed, there's some more wordplay. There are a few different types, so there's not just one type of fursuit, there are lots. There's a lot of variation in our community and also in our costuming. There are what we would call full suits. So Vix here on the screen is a full suit. It's where forks fur, bow fur, however you want to pronounce that one. It will cover the body from head to toe. These costumes have a main bodysuit, so usually it cuts off at the neck, wrists, etc. It's just one piece. You will have a tail that attaches via belt loops, just a belt really. I realized after writing belt loops, people might not understand what I mean by that. There are separate hand and foot paws, or hand and feet hooves. I actually have both. If you would like to see some, I can grab some during the Q&A section. A fursuit head and usually some kind of badge. So as I said, like here is a badge. It's a bit shiny, so it's kind of difficult to see, but it has like a headshot and your name, and this one has my Twitter on it, and it's hole punch, so it can go on a little lanyard. So that's what a badge is. Or like accessories. Some fursuits have fun accessories like scarves or bandanas, or like props. I've got a few like squishy fun fursuit props. Like I have like a bone, or I have one which is a stick of dynamite, which is quite fun to throw at people. You can also get though partials, which I mentioned a little while back. They have the wearer in clothes rather than like a fur bodysuit. You still cover your skin with like arm sleeves or sometimes leg sleeves, or just wear long sleeve trousers. There's a huge amount of variety in both species and types of fursuit. There are plush suits, so basically it just looks like you've taken a stuffed animal and walked into it. Like there's no segmentation on the fingers, they're just big bappers. And it genuinely looks like a giant plush come to life. There are what we call 3/4 suits, which I will go more into detail on another slide. Promise I won't keep doing that. Poodlers are people who just, for example, I would just put arm sleeve, well, I just put paws on right now and not bother putting arm sleeves on. Especially in hot countries, this can be good to like vent heat through your skin. And raptor masks, which if you use TikTok at all, you've probably seen one. I do also have one if you would like to see one at the end. Let me know. And kindly provided by my friends, mostly on Twitter. I've managed to get a few examples to show you guys. So I hope you're ready. Oh, it's a chicken. Oh no. This is Sanders. He is a full suit, as you can see. He is covered in fur from head to toe. He's also called Sanders after KFC, if you haven't worked out the humor of that. He is what we call a digitigrade full suit. Usually we shorten it to just Digi because it's easier on the mouth. This means that he has padding in his calves and thighs. You can kind of see it makes like a S shape. This is to basically just make them look more like an animal. You know, like we as humans are what we call plantigrade, so it's just sort of straight down, feet do this. Whereas digigrade basically means you have an extra joint, so it's like walking on your tiptoes, and your heel wouldn't be flat on the ground; it would be up like this. That's basically the difference. Who knew coming to my panel you would learn weird anatomy things while you're here, but here we are. These can be made from like, if I move my face, I can see what I wrote there. Foam. There we go. Did I mute myself? I don't think I did. No. Okay, we're good. Woo! Or polyfill stuffing. So this is basically what you see in soft animals. I've got loads underneath my desk, but I don't dare pull any out right now. These tend to be removable, so this is for washing and transportation. It's just much easier to have them removable, but they're not always. Sometimes they're sewn in. It depends on who made it. Sanders here is made by Mercury, and they are owned by Serious Punk Dog, if you are at all wondering. Okay, let's talk about plantigrade, because I talked about them a minute ago. They are fursuits that have faux fur bodysuits. No fursuits are or should be made with real fur. It is all synthetic plastics. It's one of the misconceptions I hear quite a lot is that, oh, that's real fur. And I'm like, ah, yes, this bright yellow real fur that I have right here. No, it's all plastic. Don't worry about it. But they lack any kind of padding on their legs at all. These fursuits are typically seen as kind of more slimline, more slender. They are more easier to be mobile in if you're quite an active performer. And they can be cheaper because obviously there's a lot less materials that go into building them. So we have Dee the Wolf on the left. They actually made their own fursuit and it looks great. And I'm like, wow, okay, share the skills, bit rude. But Wolf on the right commissioned his fursuit. His fursuit maker is Fursuits by Lacey, also known as Fursuiting.com or Lacey and Nick. Honestly, they've been making fursuits for, I think, longer than even I've been in the fandom at this point, a long time. Both are very common. Typically, building a fursuit yourself is a lot cheaper because you're not paying for someone's labor time or the years it took to get good at building a fursuit in the first place, or you don't have to buy an entire sewing machine. But they do take a lot of skill to produce, genuinely. I think people think that it's quite easy, but I would really argue it's not. If you're particularly crafty already, like if you know how to sew and you've experienced using a hot glue gun, you're going to find it a lot easier, but it's still not a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination. Both avenues are completely valid and respected. I think that's one thing I really want to stress is that if you tell someone that you made your own fursuit, people are like, that's so cool, you made your own fursuit. Like, people really, really respect that. But also if you commissioned it, then it's like, oh, sweet, cool. Who did you get it from? I should go and follow them because I like what they made. This is rad. Or, oh, I love that fursuit maker. It's so nice to see more work by them. You know, like there's no kind of, you're not better or worse for doing it either way. So that's really cool. We want nice, respected places around here. I hope everyone's keeping up okay. I know I talk quite fast, but again, if you have questions, do throw them up in the question and answer channel. Because this is quite a long stream, I'm probably going to try and keep my question and answer section quite long. So make sure I've got a lot to look at, I guess. All right. Half suits, or also called three-quarter suits, just depends on who you talk to. They mean the same thing. Or partials. So here is Pumpkin. They are a demon goat, for anyone wondering. I get called a rabbit a lot, which is quite interesting because I can't remember the last rabbit I saw with hooves and horns and teeth, but okay. Yeah, they're a demon goat. I can wear them either as a 3/4 suit. So on the left, this beautiful photo by Aussie Dax is me in my 3/4 suit. I have digigrade legs, and I have like my arm sleeves, my head, my hand hooves, my feet hooves, everything. But my actual chest area underneath that t-shirt is not covered in fur. It is like open. 3/4 suits are quite a good option. One of the reasons I picked it is it's quite good for venting heat, because the backing on faux fur can be quite thick. It's quite hard sometimes to vent heat that way, so having a small area that's not covered by fur can be really good to sort of just breathe a little bit, you know? Or sometimes it's preference, sometimes it's financial. Like, financial is definitely part of it as well. So yeah, people have reasons for going through a 3/4 over a full suit. I also just like wearing cool t-shirts. But on the right, I'm just wearing jeans as well as a t-shirt. And like, as you can see, I have like arm sleeves on, but I don't have leg sleeves on. It can be however you want to wear a suit. There's no right or wrong way at all. Like, 3/4 suits and partials are very common. I would probably say partials, excuse me, are the most common thing you will see in the fandom, both at conventions and fur meets, because any full suit can be worn as a partial. So technically, when you buy a full suit, you can also technically get a partial. So even people who are full suiters or 3/4 suiters like me can wear them as partials as well. So pretty neat. Pony suits! Let's go back to ponies. We're at a pony convention. Horses. So I didn't have as many photos for these. I did try and reach out to more people with pony suits, but yeah, they're nowhere near as common in My Little Pony spaces. Again, there's a lot of like beautiful cosplays that I see that are not pony suit related, whereas in the furry fandom, if you are there cosplaying as your character without a fursuit, it's like almost seen as odd. I don't know how properly to explain it. It's not like, it's not frowned upon or anything like that, but it would be out of the norm, I think is a better way to describe it. It would definitely be an oddity, but people do like full body face painting, or like people will, I've seen like some cool masks that are just like half face ones, or obviously in the current climate, people are getting a lot of persona face masks. So there's definitely ways to look like your furry character without a fursuit, but I feel like cosplay as a fleshy beast is more common in pony spaces than is in furry. At pony conventions, you will most likely have seen some pony suiters. While it's less common, there's usually at least one per convention. They attend the cosplay contest, as well as sometimes there are specific fursuit / pony suit photo shoots. I knew that UK PC has one because I usually go to it, and it's usually the only time I'm not helping out or, you know, hanging out in the staff room. But there are usually not that many. Let's be real though. But you will find them at conventions. You will also see just like regular fursuiters who aren't ponies at conventions. That'll be me. I'm usually there wearing a fursuit. I would love to have a pony suit, but yeah, maybe one day. Either way, if you want to wear a pony suit, if you want to wear a fursuit, it doesn't matter. Like, whatever. Do what makes you happy. In the same way that at furry cons and fur meets, you will see people in pony suits there. Like, it goes either way. I'm just going to do a very quick time check. We are half an hour in, everyone. We're doing well. I'm trying not to fly through these panels too quickly because I have quite a long segment. If anyone was there at the version 1 I did of this panel, you will notice some things are missing or changed. I have tried to revamp things from the ground up and improve this panel. There we go. And hopefully by the time I can present this at an in-person convention, it will be perfect. I would love that a lot because I'd like to do a bit more hands-on actually showing you fursuits and badges and stuff. So, but hey ho, I have online conventions to practice at, so that's nice. Pony suits and cosplay. Pony suits can be of canon characters or cosplay of a personal OC. The same is said for non-pony suit cosplayers. It can be your OC, it can be something official, it can be something from like the fandom, if that makes sense. Like, you know, Fallout Equestria comes to mind. Like cosplaying one of those characters, it's not your OC, but it is, it's not like canon, if that makes sense. Pony suiters are not furries if they don't want to be called that. The same could be said for people who own Pokemon cosplay suits. If they want to call themselves a furry, they're a furry. If they don't, they're not. You know, we don't go up to football mascots and tell them all that they're all furries because they've worn a costume of an anthropomorphic animal. Like, no, that's not how it works. The best thing to do is be respectful, in the same way that going up to a My Little Pony fan and instantly branding them as a brony, you know, they might not have ever even seen Generation 4, they might not care for Generation 4, they might not identify with that term, you know, like, you choose how you want to identify yourself. Pony suits have taken the skills that fursuit makers have been working with for years to make their own costumes. A lot of the construction is similar. You will notice with a lot of pony suits that they're very, very cartoony, they're usually built of foam, vision is through the buckram. So yeah, a lot of that is very similar to fursuit construction. So, but in fursuits you will also see realism suits that are built from resin, for example. So, I don't know though. I tell you what, I would love to see a realistic My Little Pony suit. That sounds like a load of fun. Someone make it happen. Pony suits are, however, most often full suits, while partials or three-quarter fursuits are very common in the furry fandom. Nearly all pony suiters are complete full suiters. So much so that I genuinely tried to reach out to find a photo of someone in a partial pony suit, and nobody got back to me. I'm just like, there must be somebody. It does happen. I won't use any images for these panels unless I have permission from people. So it was a bit frustrating, but you know, if you happen to be that and you would like to send me an image that I could use in a future panel, don't be afraid to message me, I guess, because it would be nice to actually showcase that. It's one way in which our communities kind of differ with the costuming part. Pony suits can be digigrade or plantigrade. You see both, it's fairly common. Yeah, like, I don't even think I'd call it like a 50-50. I feel like I see more plantigrade, but that could just be my view of it. But yeah, you see both. Sorry, I keep sniffling. That's very rude of me. Costume interaction etiquette. Yes. So all of these photos are actually from Midwest Fur Fest. I was using a much nicer camera than I am now. That's why everything looks so beautiful. And it's actually the largest furry convention in the world. It wasn't at the time I went, it was the second largest, but now it is the largest, and it is in Chicago in the Americas. And as you can see, Applejack was there. Applejack here, I believe, was a plantigrade. Yeah, so My Little Pony suits will be seen at furry conventions. And the one on the far right, I don't know my left and right, is what we would call a realism suit. I've mentioned that a few times. Their fursuit base is made out of resin. They actually see through the tear duct vision. It's kind of like black mesh down here. It's not great, but we make it work. They will usually have like a silicone tongue, resin teeth, and sometimes they have a moving jaw, so it'll actually move when they talk. This is a beautiful one. It's by Clockwork Creatures or Quarazel. They're one of like the biggest names in realism in the furry fandom. And their price reflects that. I'm just going to put it that way. As fursuits and pony suits may be kind of a new concept to people, or you've just never known how to actually approach someone who's in costume, which is completely understandable. I do understand why people could perhaps be a little bit intimidated by them. not sure what to do, and you can't see someone's face, so you can't like read facial expressions or anything like that. I fully understand that. Even as a fursuiter myself, I can still find it a little bit like, oh god, how do I go up to and talk to them? I'm really kind of scared. Or if it's someone I admire quite a lot, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna look like a complete mess when I try and talk to them. So I've just like tried to do a little bit of etiquette, like here are some good, information for how to approach someone, for when we can all do that again, hopefully soon. Here's some quick info. Yeah, firstly, never approach someone from behind. Way I see it, treat them like a horse, right? You never approach a horse from behind because you will get kicked. We can't see you. Like that's the truth of it. We literally can't see you when you're behind us. Very unlikely that we'll be able to hear you. Even approaching from the sides, we might not be able to see you either. We very much have tunnel vision, like it's straight out like that. Typically on a fursuit, the coloured parts of the eyes. So if you look at Applejack here, they can probably see out of, I think, the black part of the eyes, whereas the suit on the left, the Sunny Valley Creations, they can see out of everything except the white. It's made out of a material called buckram, which I probably should have prepared before this panel, and I could have shown you it. But it's basically just like a thin type of mesh, and you can paint it, and you can see out of it pretty well, depending on the suit. But yeah, they can't see you out of the white part, and it is very much tunneled. As I said, on realistic fursuits, it's the little tear ducts. You see the glowing eyes there? He can't actually see out of those, especially with those LEDs. I imagine it makes it even worse. They did look very cool though. So if you want to approach someone in costume, just approach us from the front. Like we can see you that way. It really is the easiest way to make sure that we clock you in our vision. Especially if someone is like a new fursuiter, or as I said, in a realism suit, it makes vision a lot harder. I find the longer you've been fursuiting, the more aware you become of your surroundings, and you become more confident moving around a lot more to make sure you can see everything. But we still miss stuff, like sorry, that was an ambulance. We still have like difficulties, so just try and understand that there's certain stuff we can't see when we're in costume. We're doing our best. Hugs and photos, yay! Not everyone in costume will be okay with photos and hugs, first of all. In the same way that people who cosplay and dress up, they might not automatically want their photo taken, or they might not be okay with a hug. Just people have social anxiety, or people could have neurological issues, or even just sometimes, please don't hug me, I don't want you to damage this costume, please. Or they could be going somewhere. There is a ton of reasons, and they don't need to explain to you. Basically, if someone says no, just respect the no. It never hurts to ask. But we are still people underneath the costume. We need to have our boundaries and our consent respected. It's very, very easy when someone puts on the mask for people around us to kind of forget that there's still a person inside. Because essentially that's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to fool you into not thinking I'm in there. I'm trying to become this character in this space right now and convince you that Reskel has left the building. Unless I'm fursuiting as Reskel, I guess. But I'm trying to convince you I'm that character. So a lot of times people forget that we're still people in there. We can still express and feel emotions and uncomfortable, or like I'm that character, but I'm still me. A lot of costumers are silent. Silent fursuiting is probably one of the most common types of fursuiting. You will have people who talk. One of the most famous ones in this country is called Zuki. He has several fursuit characters. Each one of them has like quite a distinct character. So there's Sykes. They are a undead zombie opossum, and they have a very Cockney accent. Then there's Pazuzu, who is a goat demon, and they kind of have like a Russian accent. So there are people who will take that costume performance and take it kind of out of the mime and charades into full voice, full body, everything. But it really depends, you know, everyone is different. So if someone is silent fursuiting, they will communicate to you with mime, which you may be able to tell I'm a fursuiter because I've been doing this the entire time because it's become almost like a second way of interacting with people for me. You know, like, it sounds so bizarre, but there's so much you can tell with just your body language without ever speaking. But it's really, really easy to go up and ask someone for a hug. You know, you just want to like extend your arms out like this, maybe even just like hugs, you know, just be like, can I have a hug, please? And if they give you like a big enthusiastic nod, thumbs up, go in for a hug themselves, you're fine. Or they might just be like, no, thank you. And that's okay too. It's really, really important to respect that, you know, because at the end of the day, you've also got to remember fursuits are very hot. I think it's it can get to under, like, depending on the fursuit, it can get to about 150 degrees in the head. That's very hot. That is insanely hot. We can actually breathe through the mouths, and we do get some ventilation through the eyes, but it's very, very warm. So if someone says no to a photo or a hug, it might be because they are going to take the suit off, get some hydration, or they just might be genuinely pretty tired. You know, we all have our reasons. You can do the same with photos and videos though. Again, I'm a photographer, so this is quite important for me. But you can mime the motions. So for example, photo or video. I don't know why this is video. I think it's like a reel. I don't know why we've all decided that that is the universal mime for video, but it works. We all know what we mean. But you can also just ask them, be like, hey, would it be okay if I took a photo of you? And also, if you're talking to someone in fursuit or in a pony suit or any kind of costume, especially if their ears are covered, just raise your voice a little bit. I also have friends who are fursuiters who are hard of hearing, for example. Sometimes they will usually have a badge to let you know that, but I know some people who are genuinely deaf and can't hear a thing. So just speak a little bit louder, make sure they can see your face, see that you are asking. But yeah, just talk to us. Like, we're real people in there, and we will confirm or deny in some way. Do not pick someone up. Don't do it. Don't do it ever. No, unless it is your friend and you have specifically asked them and you know they're okay with it. Don't pick someone up. Midwest Fur Fest 2015 for me, I'd just been in for ankle surgery, and I'd only been out of bed because I was bedbound with it for a month or two, and someone picked me up and dropped me, and sat in my room for the rest of the night with ice on it. So please do not pick people up. Some of us have quite serious issues. It can be quite painful. I know that we're very cute or short. Oh, short. It might look cute, but it could damage us, or it can also damage the costume. And these costumes are expensive. Like, I don't even want to think about how much mine costs, but they're my world. And if they got damaged, I would cry. Do not grab at the costume, because remember, you're also grabbing at us. If you are like stretching the fur like this and pulling it out, that isn't going to grow back. I'm not a real whatever animal right now. Once that fur comes out, it's not coming back. Be gentle. Like, we're very, very soft. There is absolutely no reason to be rough with us at all. Like, you know, we will do our best to be gentle with you. But I hope that is some good etiquette that can be applied to hopefully all things. Mostly just be respectful, and I guess don't be afraid of us. If we're going out there to perform for you, we're doing it because it's something we love and we want to perform for you. We want you to come up to us and ask for photos and hugs and interact with us. That's why we're doing it in the first place, you know? Like, talk to me. I don't bite. Oh, I didn't think that was going to load then. I was like, so we are different and kind of similar. Yeah. So in the same way that Sonic the Hedgehog the fastest thing around, is a anthropomorphic character. Sonic fans have their own community. They have their own conventions, their own meetups, their own like fan culture and fan language, you know. And some of them might identify as furries. Some of them might even be My Little Pony fans because we all like anthropomorphic stuff. And as a general rule, if you like one anthropomorphic thing, you probably like another, if that makes sense. Like, if you are really into Star Fox, you probably also like Spyro the Dragon because you're like, ooh, more cute animal people for me, please. My Little Pony characters are generally depicted walking on all fours. This is typically referred to as feral in furry circles. Not feral in the way of being like savage beasts or something, just feral because they walk on all fours. It just means closer to the actual animal. Whereas like Anthro is closer to a human, if that makes sense. You do see more Anthro, i.e. standing on two legs, more physically humanoid, as I said, depictions in My Little Pony as well, like Kappa from the Generation 4 movie, as well as all of the pirates. I remember when we started getting the promo art, I was like, oh, furries! Furries in My Little Pony! I'm here for it! And also they were a great character, so that works for me. Feral versus Anthro. Okay, so I said I was going to discuss this. This is my character Tolko. If you're wondering, she is a cheetah, but she has pointed ears. Just going to get that out of the way. I just thought pointed ears were cute, and I just decided to give them pointed ears. There's nothing deeper to it. As I said, feral is a furry term for animals who walk on all fours, like the artwork I have from Jam. She's being very cute. Anthro is a shorter version of anthropomorphic. It means characters who walk on two legs and have a body that is basically humanoid but covered in fur. Something I didn't cover in the like fursuit section as well is you can get quad suits. Quad suits walk on all fours. You have like stilts in the hands that you use. I wanted to include some quad suits, but they are very rare. Reason for that is they're very hard to wear and they're also very, very expensive. Not many people will build quad suits and they are very, very difficult to wear. They can bring about a lot of back pain. But quad suits do also exist. I would like to feature more quad suits on here to give more of a broader range and show that we do kind of have fursuits that come more under the feral category. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there quickly. Both feral and Anthro characters are anthropomorphic. They are designs which are a identity expression of the owner. So my persona, Rescal, my alien space dog, she can be drawn Anthro or feral. I actually kind of prefer drawing her feral personally. I don't know why, I just do. When I started out in the community, I didn't even really know that Anthro characters existed. I didn't draw Anthro characters for years. I started out exclusively as a feral artist because I kind of thought that was the only way for maybe a first year of me joining the fandom. So yeah. Both feral and Anthro characters can communicate and have designs that would not be found in nature. If you can find me a cheetah with pointed ears and blue markings and markings based on a playing card, you are going to have a lot of money because that doesn't exist. They both have some fantasy and personalization to them. Some furries have feral personas, like me, and some have Anthro, also like me, and some have characters who can be either, which is also me. Anthro characters can be more popular in the fandom, but that is not to diminish the importance and prevalence of feral personas, artwork, and artists. You know, I know a lot of friends who will only have their persona depicted feral, like they are not interested in any kind of Anthro artwork at all, and some people who go completely the other way. So it really depends on the person, you know, like either or is valid, friends. Either or is valid. In the same way, I guess, with ponies. I've got like my pony persona drawn as both an anthro and a feral. You know, like that there's both of those in the pony community as well. But, you know, it just depends what people prefer. Artwork and artists. Yes, so both of our communities rely on artists. Let's just cut to the chase. Without artists and creative people in our communities, there wouldn't be much community. You know, like they are really the backbone of what creates community. Like all of us having our own characters and colorful icons and like having a vendor's hall is a massive part of convention experiences, you know. I for one know that I'm trying not to spend all of my money in the vendor hall. I'm sure other people might be with me on that one. We have creatives like artists and writers and musicians and crafters and painters, you name it. I have seen so many bananas things in the vendors hall that I never thought I would see there. And I think that's wonderful. Like I've seen pocket watches and I'm like, I never thought about putting a pony on a pocket watch, but here we are. Creative people are our backbone to create merchandise or to get commissions from, either or. A lot of artists, like Surskik here, they actually did my Discord icon as well, if you're wondering. They tend to draw for both communities. There's a lot of crossover in styles and aesthetics. But they will also draw for other Anthro themed fandoms, so like Sonic. Let me think of another one now. Lion King. There's a lot of like Lion King OCs and things like that. Like I know some people with like Spyro characters or Crash Bandicoot. Artists can draw fan art or even someone's original character if they want. Artwork is a focus of both of our communities heavily. It's another way in which we are incredibly similar. Also, yeah, check out the vendor hall. I'm an artist myself, but I've chosen not to vend this year. I personally do draw for both communities, but please support our vendors, especially during this pandemic. You know, the arts are being hit quite severely, even though without wonderful events and vendors like this, you know, keeping us all sane and happy during quarantine, things would be a lot more difficult. So, you know, if you can spare some change to support them, I would definitely urge you to do so. Okay, on model / non-canon style. I'm going to try and fly through this quite quickly because I feel like presenting this to a My Little Pony audience, most of you can know what I'm talking about. So artists draw in a variety of different styles, in either community that is. In My Little Pony art circles and other fan art communities, you see terms thrown around like on model or canon art depictions. This usually means drawing in a show style or video game style. You want it to look on model, i.e. the artist is able to mimic the style of the show to make it look like the character just stepped out of that world. So at the top, we have an art piece by Kerry, which is clearly like on model, show style. It could be a still. But then at the bottom, we also have artwork by Kerry in just their normal style, you know, so it's more of a personal interpretation. And then we have some artwork by the lovely Riddle Wiki, where you can tell this is more interpretive, this is more their style, but you're still drawing a My Little Pony character. You also have artists who are more like interpretive, as I just said, making the characters fit their aesthetic and style, not shows. And as we see with Kerry, you get artists who can do both, like not a problem. I wish I could do that. Let's put it that way. Apologies, I should be drinking water. But what about for furries though? Bringing it back. For furries, because our fandom is about an idea, like we are a concept-based fandom, which makes us sound probably cooler than we actually are. Rather than a show or a video game, there is no like set style, there is no canon style, there's no on-model style. A furry is a fusion between an animal and a human, and you can kind of do whatever you want with that. Like, I know people who have centaur characters in furry, like, whatever you want, go for it. There is no one furry art style. There is just your own art style drawing furries. Because of that, furry artwork can be hugely varied. Hugely. So, My Little Pony is just one interpretation of a horse. In furry artwork, you can interpret that animal in a different way, but still have it look like that species. With My Little Pony style, even off model, you're still aiming for that My Little Pony style. So you want the big eyes and the short wee little snout, and like, you know, you want like the arms to be kind of like tubes. You know, you still wanting it to look My Little Pony-esque. You're not like actually just drawing a realistic horse. And a furry could take a horse and make it look like a cartoon, but interpret it differently, you know? With the Sonic community, for example, while you might be drawing a hedgehog or a fox or an echidna, you are still drawing in the Sonic universe. Even with an off-model style, you want it to feel like Sonic. It's one big way in which other fandoms in the furry fandom are so very different, again, because we're concept. There's no like original thing for us to come together towards and be like, well, it has to fit this thing, it has to fit in this universe. That there's nothing. We make our own things. And I think really that's one of the reasons why people don't understand what furries are. And that's totally fine, you know? Even if you come out of this panel and you're like, I still kind of just don't really get furries, but whatever. That's fine. I am here to hopefully explain, answer questions, go into detail, and I also just genuinely want to explore why we are different and why we are similar. You know, because saying that My Little Pony communities are just furries is honestly incorrect. As someone who has done organization work in both staffing, as well as attending and vending, they're very different. But they're also very similar, you know, and I just wanted to do a panel to hopefully explore that, because it's really not that clear cut or that black and white. So I hope that's what I'm doing. All right. What do furries even do, though? I hear nobody asking. Furries come from all walks of life and all different backgrounds. Typically, what unites us is a interest in anthropomorphic characters from movies, TV shows, video games. This also forms a basis of a lot of discussion. So we have Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, who I forgot was on my desk until this exact moment, but thank you for being here. Yeah, Spyro the Dragon. The furry fandom is majority young teens and adults, around 75% being under 25, according to Fursuits, which we talked about earlier. I should maybe remove that from this panel, but it's fine. But yeah, we're young adults, and I would argue the same is relatively true for My Little Pony circles. Maybe it's different per generation, though. I think it'd be quite interesting to have some stats, like Fursuits does on furry events. But for My Little Pony, I would be quite interested to read that. But I find stats quite interesting, so that might just be me. One of the main differences between furries and most other subcultures is that we don't have a focus on like one piece of media or one intellectual property. Our focus is our community. You know, there are aspects of the furry fandom that are like kind of universal. You know, like it's more in-jokes and language that seems to be quite universal, but there are other things. So like what happens at one convention will most likely happen at most conventions, you know. So like we have a photo here from Cheetah Obscura, who is lovely, of a fursuit bowling meet. I have still never been fursuit bowling. I've always wanted to. But I am kind of petrified of dropping a bowling ball, not gonna lie to you. But fursuit bowling happens all over. There are fursuit bowling meets everywhere. It's kind of like we saw this thing and decided let's just do that 100 times. But But really, what furries do is kind of endless. Like, what do My Little Pony fans do? Loads of stuff, you know? We're all there for the same reason, but what we do when we get there is different. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, okay. Oh, thought I wasn't going to go then. Conventions and events. At furry conventions, there are some events which may seem kind of uncommon at My Little Pony conventions. I'm talking too long. Such as dance competitions. So here's a photo of me. Let me see if I can get this. There we go. That is my 3rd place trophy from ScotiaCon's dance competition. I'm not very good, but I try and I have fun. I have another one somewhere that's more of like an actual thing. This one's a record. I don't know what's on it. I've never played it, but it was spray painted in fun colors, and I got 3rd place, which I'm still very proud of. I've gotten 3rd place twice, but last year my best friend entered and came 1st, so I was very happy to take 3rd place. There is also floor wars. Floor wars are like improv dance-offs, and they are usually open to non-fursuiters as well as fursuiters. It's basically just put on a piece of music, dance, and then the other dancer will dance back at you, and then you will vote on who's better. But they're very popular. Dance competitions happen at most cons. Floor wars happen only really at larger cons because having 2 dance events can be kind of a lot. But there are usually specific photo shoots for different animal species as well. Some are even original species, created by the fandom itself. There are servals. You might have heard of these guys. They're the cheese wedge faces aliens. Dutch angel dragons. Again, you might have heard of those. And protogens. Protogens are like robotic furries. They have like a faceplate that displays different emotions, and the fursuits for protogens usually have quite a lot of programming behind them. They're very cool, very cool. We are endlessly creative. Honestly, I couldn't even go into detail about original species and how many there are because I'd be here forever. But they're very common in our community, and they can be really, really cool. So neat. There are also photo shoots for fursuit families, not actual families. They're just fursuits that all happen to be made by the same artist, and they come together for a lovely group photo. So I've included one from Made by Mercury. They are a UK-based fursuit maker, one of our most popular. This photo was taken, I think, in Fuzzled last year. I'm going to say last year. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of them. And they're all made by that one human at the bottom. And there's a lot more since then, so whew. There are international snack exchanges as well, for everyone who's hungry. And because obviously our events attract a large amount of nationalities and tourists, people come from all around the world to come to different furry events. Same with My Little Pony. I know that this event specifically, this conline, we've had a lot of people coming from all over who perhaps couldn't come to the in-person convention, and that is one sweet bonus of running an online con. There's also game shows like Taskmaster and Catchphrase. Yeah, I told you we like our wordplay, which are usually a right laugh, like a microwave exploding with popcorn on the stage, or random shenanigans. It's usually quite crazy. There's definitely a specific kind of humor that comes along with events like that. Yay! I think we're going sluggish because these are the panels that have a lot of photographs on them. But what do we have that's similar? So between My Little Pony and furry cons, there's a lot of quite similar events as well. For example, we usually have like some kind of dances in the evenings. I know for pony conventions it's usually a little bit more tame. Ours is more like a rave. I've included some photos, as you can see, lights and darkness and dubstep. But we also have live music performances. Some furry musicians are Fox and More and Pepper Coyote. They perform together as Foxes and Peppers, and then obviously My Little Pony. I think one of the best live performances I saw was the Living Tombstone back when the Summer Sun celebration was a thing. Don't know if anyone remembers that. Panels are also a big part of con experiences. We have writing panels. There's also usually a My Little Pony panel at most furry cons because of the crossover between communities. I included a photo. That's Mr. Zebra running a My Little Pony panel. Sometimes there's even like My Little Pony quizzes at furry cons because again, there's a lot of furries who watch My Little Pony. So opening and closing ceremonies. I'm sure all of you caught Bexy this morning for opening and then closing tomorrow. There's usually panels for first-time con goers. That's pretty much staple of most conventions, though, to be honest with you. The furry cons in the United Kingdom are Confuzzled, which is our largest. It's in Birmingham. ScotiaCon, unsurprisingly, in Scotland, just for the weekend and vacation, but they are down south. Those are the two I've not been to. So, but yeah. There we go. Welcoming, accepting, family. To me, and I'm sure so many others, the most important part is that both the My Little Pony fan base community and the furry fandom both preach acceptance. They both stand to be places that are welcoming. Both groups attract a high percentage of LGBTQ+ youth, as well as being a place that is considered safe for minority groups to be themselves. Both fandoms can become a home and a family for people. This is a picture from the Who for Furs meetup. So I've been running the Who for Furs community for the UK and Europe since 2017, I think, a while now. We have a lot of pony people who join that as well, so you're very welcome. As you can see in that photo, there's a lot of pony suitors as well, but that is from Confuzzled. I am in there. I don't know if you can tell. I'm the goat. But we really are family to each other. We have a group chat, we have a website, we organize meetups, and we see everyone once a year, and it's wonderful. And then also is a doofy selfie of the volunteer staff team for UK PonyCon. I'm in the fabulous ears at the front, looking dashing. But honestly, like the staff teams at UK PonyCon really do feel like a family. More so in person, because we're all hanging out together. You know, like we will end up in the staff room together and chatting, and it's just wonderful. Like the same with both communities. You go to the events and you just have that wonderful sense of family and togetherness. And yeah, it really does make it feel like home. How are we doing on time? Ooh, wow, we're doing well. What if you want to become a furry? I hear you ask. Congrats, you did it. Woo! As I said previously, it's a term that you give to yourself. You do not need anything to be a furry. The vast majority of furries do have a persona. Here's mine again, Rescale. But not even this is a requirement, honestly. Truthfully, a very small minority of us actually own fursuits. Due to cost, maintenance, storage, needed to own a fursuit. They pretty much take up most of this room, so I can attest to that. Most furries you meet won't own a costume, but they are just as important to this community. It's the same as not all My Little Pony fans cosplay. Furries are just a cosplay of our own character at the end of the day, you know? Respect is key. What's important to remember is that there is a lot of overlap between both communities. A lot of people found the My Little Pony community through being a furry, myself included. Similarly, so many My Little Pony fans went on to engage with the furry fandom. It really does happen both ways. I've met people who go like both ways on that. It's very common to have people who are active in both. That's me, I'm active in both. But, you know, not always. End of the day, we all enjoy talking animal people, right? Usually in crazy bananas color schemes. Our goal for both is to have a welcoming community where we have fun, support each other, enjoy our hobbies. We get together and share our passions, and that is truthfully wonderful. It's what makes me proud to be part of both communities. Whoops, didn't mean to knock that over. Conclusions, but if you want to ask Q&A questions, go now. I'll be answering them in just a minute. Furries have been a thriving community ever since the first generation of My Little Pony was debuted. Both communities have a lot of crossover in costume, in artwork, and events, as we've explored during this panel, hopefully. There are indeed differences between the two, and there will continue to be. You know, our events are set up by different people, and they are run differently for different people. You know, like the furry conventions in the UK are usually 18 plus, whereas My Little Pony conventions are usually family. But we have fur meets, which are usually like for younger people, and they are quite common. Like, again, there's so many differences between us. Anyone from any community is welcome in the other. As you can see, here is a photo of me at UK PonyCon 2018 in my fursuit, because I can. You can choose what communities you belong to, interact with, and label yourself as. Nobody else can do that. My hope has been to shed some light on who and what the furry fandom is, what we do, and hopefully create more understanding, education, and acceptance. And remember, everyone, friendship is indeed magic. And I hope we are ready for some Q&A questions. I think I've timed that relatively well. If I click stop share, is that just going to take my video up? No. Okay. Let's just keep that up then. Just keep that up. It's fine. That's the chat. I don't want that. Questions. There we go. Where do I store all my fursuits? I don't know if I can show you. They're behind here. I keep them in IKEA storage. It's not very exciting. What do you prefer? Pony suit, pony costume, or dress up? AKA shirt with a pony. I mean, I have a shirt with a pony right now. Carried over from the main chat. Do you happen to know whether there was a higher percent of cosplay after? That's a good question, actually. Like after Equestria Girls? I don't know, maybe. Well, they said that Equestria Girls was specifically influenced by people cosplaying. So, you know. How do you actually deal with the restricted vision you have in a fursuit? Slowly is usually the answer to that. Practice. I've been fursuiting for 8 years now. You know, I have a lot of experience with that. But yeah, genuinely, practice. Also, having a handler who looks after you and makes sure that you don't trip over your own tail. How do you see in cosplay full stop? Yeah, pretty much. Like, all cosplays can kind of have some kind of like limited vision. It's not just exclusive to fursuits. I've worn things that have worse vision than fursuits. Let's put it that way. So long story short, there is no standard definition of fursuiter or pony. So many choices, and it depends on the person. Exactly, very much so. There's no one definition that can define either of us, and I would kind of hate for there to be. That would kind of just put us all in the same box. And we're all people, and we're all different, and none of us will ever fit into a little neat box. In the Crystal Maze group of fursuiters enter calling themselves cosplayers. Do you think the term cosplay is actually valid for a fursuit wearer in the suit of their own character? That is a very interesting question, HypnoWho's. Stop messaging me. It's very, very difficult. So I have entered a cosplay competition before. It was at a sci-fi convention called Sci-Fi Weekender. I didn't want to initially. I was specifically asked by the staff to enter, and I entered with my friend who was cosplaying as Umbreon from My Little Pony, and it was more because they were nervous rather than it showcasing me or my costume. I personally feel uncomfortable entering cosplay competitions, even though, again, I've been asked to enter the one at PonyCon, and I don't personally feel comfortable with that. Yes, I'm cosplaying, but I'm cosplaying my own character. So I would perhaps use, if I was putting up a selfie, perhaps a cosplay tag, because it is a kind of cosplay. But yeah, I wouldn't personally call myself like a cosplayer for being a fursuiter, or I wouldn't enter a cosplay competition apart from that one instance I talked about. But other people might view it differently. I really don't think there's like a yes or no strict thing on that. Identity and identify. Who are you and what do you roleplay versus real life? I roleplay as a functioning adult 24/7. I've gotten quite good at it. Pony conventions tend to have more on that furry conventions. A day of UK Pony, UK PC. Stop messaging me. Having more than 4 at CF, the schedules are more packed, while furry conventions tend to be longer and more like a holiday. Yes, okay, so Confuzzled in the UK can be anything from 5 to 7 days, depending on how many extra days you want to book, which I know sounds absolutely bananas to people used to perhaps just like a 2-day convention. Typically, furry conventions feel a bit like a marathon sometimes. They're very, very long. And while we do have a lot of events, there's a lot more chill free time. I'm going to be honest with you, Hypno Hooves. I think it's generally because furry conventions in the UK are like 18 plus typically. And, you know, we want our conventions to feel a bit more like a holiday. And there's less like families to be like entertained 24/7. There's a lot more just sitting around in the bar and playing board games, or there's a lot more spaces set up for just like artists to go and have a doodle or just relax. Typically they're just more relaxed. And also fursuiting. Fursuiting in itself is a constant event, right? I get in my fursuit, and I head down to the lobby and I go fursuiting for 2 hours. And other people who are wandering around with cameras will come and take photos of me, or like other people who are there just to appreciate them. That in itself is creating an event. And don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of that at PonyCons, but I feel more so with furry cons. The watching fursuiters and being a fursuiter in itself is kind of an event, which is a bit bananas to think about, but yeah. Does my Hoover community include those who have a Hoover as their non-main persona? Yes, because my persona isn't a Hoover and I set it up. So yep, you're fine. Don't worry about it. So my persona is a space dog, but my characters are like I have a goat, I have a sheep, I have several horses, I have some deer. I probably have something else that I've forgotten about. So yeah, absolutely. Anyone is welcome in Hoofers. Even if you don't have a Hoover character, but you just like hoofed animals, you're always welcome. And I will leave some links in the chat rather than the question section if you would like to come and join us, I guess. If someone wanted to send you pictures, an example of a pony suit, the best method is probably just to PM me on Discord. Again, I will be chatting in the chat after this so you can find who I am. There is still loads of time to ask me questions. Absolutely go bananas, I don't mind. Quick question, if you still have time. Yes, I do. Who is best pony? Okay, do you mean out of the main 6 or in general? Out of the main 6, my favorite is Pinkie Pie. You might notice I'm quite eccentric. So I relate a lot with Pinkie Pie. But in general, I actually like Minuet or Colgate. Bit of a weird one, but they are actually my favorite. How do I make furry friends? I am late to the fandom and don't really know how to do that during COVID. I understand those feels. Like how you would with ponies, the best way I would personally advise is just join some group chats. Telegram rather than Discord is more of the furry hangout, and Twitter is the main social media that we use. So yeah, I would say join some group chats. Absolutely come and talk to people. Join Twitter. My God, I'm never not on Twitter. I think I have 10 accounts logged in right now. So yeah, chat to people on social media, join group chats. We do have online conventions for furries as well happening all the time. So that is a good place to come and meet some people as well. Yeah, But I promise we don't hide. You can come follow me on Twitter and talk to me. I don't bite. Could you fursuit as a pheasant? Oh, I've never seen one, but I can almost promise you there's probably one. I showed you Sanders in here, who's a rooster. But yeah, there are a lot of bird furries. I would love to see a pheasant. Now that you've said that, oh, what is the 3 most known misunderstandings of furries? I don't believe I'm an animal. That is Therian or otherkin. That is completely different. To like spiritually connect with or feel like you are a reincarnation of an animal, or your soul is connected to an animal. That's not me. I'm not an animal. As you can see, all skin, all flesh, and I know and feel like a human up here. I don't think I'm a dog. I just draw myself as a dog sometimes. I just have that as my avatar. In the same way that I'm sure none of you guys here like think that you're a horse. So that's a big one. Second of all, that we all own fursuits. It's not true. I'm a really bad example because I have multiple fursuits, but again, most people don't, typically. And I guess like that furries are doing anything wrong by existing. I know that doesn't sound like a misconception, but furries have been around forever, which I don't mean by forever, but forever in internet terms. We're not going anywhere, and we're not actually out to get anyone or hurt anyone. We are just people like anyone else on the internet, and that there's nothing wrong with being a furry or us. We're just people. I think people, they see the name furry and it's almost dehumanizing to remember that I am a real person sitting at my desk every day. Because I am. I'm not an idea. I'm not my community. I'm an individual. Pheasant furry sounds like a foul idea. Ah, that the fandom is very much for adults only. Yes, I hate that attitude as well. So I joined the fandom when I was 13. I've been in this furry fandom for 11 years now. I also joined the My Little Pony community when I was a minor. I personally am so supportive of kids being in this community. I think that it's wonderful. Same with both communities. It's one of the reasons I actually like UK PonyCon above perhaps a lot of other pony conventions, is that it is very family oriented and there is a lot of love for all generations, and I just think that makes it a more welcoming place. It's actually my preference. But yeah, no. I think some people take the like I'm uncomfortable with children to a bit of an extreme level and make some people feel unwelcome, but I feel like that's unfortunately just life and a lot of spaces. So long as you respect when an adult space is an adult space, I don't think it's a problem. Like, for example, there is alcohol here, please leave. What was the animal furry name again? You might have to be a little bit more specific. Do you mean like feral and anthro, or confused? Is there an upper age limit for being a furry? Nope. I know people in their 50s and 60s who are still in this fandom. Absolutely not. I don't think you are ever too old to have fun. Don't you ever think that. I'm not going to answer that question. But yeah, if you're talking about the like animal name, I'm confused what you mean by that. There we go. If you meant like feral, like on all fours, or did you perhaps mean some of the original species? So like servals, I think they're called sergals. I think I put that in wrong. Dutch angel dragons, there's also angel dragons, and protogens. So all of those are things. But yeah, I think I've got about 5 minutes left. You can see my beautiful slideshow here with all of my beautiful slides. I also saw someone saying Steffi artwork. Yes, Steffi very kindly sent these in for me to use. All of the artwork and pictures in here I have full permission to use. Some of these in here I actually took myself. Like these ones, all of this is my photography. Everything should have everyone's correct credit on it, so you can go and find them. But yeah, put it back on my Q&A screen. Yeah, no fandom should have an upper age limit. I agree with that completely. Therians or otherkin is the word you're looking for. I'll be honest, I'm not the most informed about Therians or otherkin. Again, I feel like it's more you have a spiritual, very personal connection to an animal that's beyond just a character. It's more like feeling like you are that animal in some way. I think for many people it's not quite literally thinking you're an animal. Like I'm pretty sure that most Therians and otherkin who I've talked to know they're a human, but relate more strongly than perhaps a furry would. But there are Therians and otherkin who are part of the furry fandom. There's usually like a Therian or otherkin panel or meetup, and I have a lot of friends who are, but I don't really want to talk for them because, yeah, I'm not myself, and I don't want to perhaps say something that could be incorrect, but you're very welcome to do your own research. There's a lot of information out there. Did you forget about culperas? Honestly, I could talk about every single original species to death. There are so many. I have an amp wave. Many people might not have heard of them as well. I would be here till the end of time. I agree, was just wondering, as everyone mentioned, seem quite young to me as an oldie. No, absolutely not. I really don't feel like there's an upper age limit. Earlier when I talked about Zuki, who does fursuiting, and they have like characters who talk and have accents, I believe they're in their 50s. And some of the photography I have in here by Sean or Pixtagoat, they're quite old as well. They do furry and My Little Pony meets as well. So no, there's no upper age limit on fun, as far as I'm concerned. I'm 24, so I'm no spring chicken anymore. How do you find artists and makers in non-toony styles? I have a specific idea for a persona that is more kimono and realistic looking, but toony is so popular. Toony is really popular. Again, but you can find it. On my original version of this panel, I actually went into Use Your Own Eyes Fursuits, Realism Fursuits, but I decided to take that panel out and replace it with some more information about how to interact with costume performers safely, because I figured that would perhaps be a little bit more important. But honestly, you can find anything. Like, if you're willing to look, you can find people who draw in a variety of different styles. On Telegram, there's actually a thing called @the Dealer's Den, and it's literally just a constant stream of artists posting their like commissions, and you can find so many like brilliant styles that way. So just look it up. Honestly, you will find so many like, you know, artists who work in different styles. I've got a load of artwork that's not always drawn in toony. I actually kind of prefer. I don't have long left, so if you have questions, go. Yes, older furries are generally called grey muzzles, which I think is kind of a sweet term. Yeah, like silver foxes. So yeah, it's quite a common term in the fandom, is grey muzzles. It's typically people who are older in the fandom. I've had a few people try to call me a grey muzzle because I've been in the fandom a while, and I'm like, no, I'm not that old. I've just been around for a long time, so people think perhaps I am, I guess. But yeah, the way you type, I'm quite fast at typing as well though, which isn't great on my fingers. But yeah, thank you everyone so much for coming along to my panel. I had no idea how I was going to fill an hour and a half of this, but you have made it really easy, to be honest. Like, this felt fairly relaxed. So thank you for coming along and asking me questions and speaking to me. How many hybrids have you seen? Loads! I have loads of hybrids. One of my fursuits is a hybrid. I don't know if I can get him and come back in time. I'll try it. Oh, that was so smooth. That's so smooth. This is Harvey. He is a red/flying squirrel mix. He is a squirrel hybrid. He has like wings, and never heard from her again. No, I'm back. So yeah, he's a hybrid. He's one of my oldest fursuits, and he's massive, as you can tell. He's basically filling the frame right now, aren't you? Yes. So yeah, I own a hybrid fursuit myself. I have several hybrid characters, so fairly common. But I think it's about time to wrap up, and my beautiful Ocellus stage princess will kick me soon. But thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and I will see you in the stage chat after